Hello again. Welcome to class 743. Yes, sir, 743. Let's finish our vocabulary. There are only 3 words. And then we're going to, I think we will finish the paragraph book today. We'll see. All right, with vocabulary page 160, the final 3, the last 3 words. Ensayar is to rehearse. Ensayar, lo dije ayer. To test is ensayar con probetas, ensayo similar. To test. Yes. Vamos a ensayar la dureza de los lápices. To test. To break. A destructive test. Una prueba destructiva, un ensayo destructivo. Doesn't break. It's a very strong pencil. Yeah. It's a test. It's a test. Now, to rehearse is, okay, Marta, tengo que dar un discurso. Mañana voy a ensayarlo. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here in front of you. I want to talk to, Marta says, Richard, calm down. You're nervous. Come on, you can speak better. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here with you. The subject I want to talk about today is a subject that's very important for me. And I'm sure that when I finish talking to you today, this subject will be very important for you as well. Is that okay, Marta? Is that better? All right. I'm rehearsing. To rehearse. Rehearse. Rehearse, escrito. Rehearse. To rehearse. También in the theater. A new play, una nueva obra de teatro se estrena, but for 3 weeks before, they rehearse. Every day there's a rehearsal. And the night before the opening night, el estreno se dice opening night, noche que abre. Opening night is the first night for a movie or for a play, in the opening night. And the night before, they have the dress rehearsal, el ensayo ya con vestuario. It's a dress, como vestido, como vestir. The dress rehearsal, to rehearse. All right, pedir is to request or to ask for, to request. Tengo una petición, I have a request. Yes, to request. I would like to request something. I would like to ask for something. And finally, atar is to tie, atar. Atar una corbata is to tie a tie. Valga la redundancia, to tie a tie. A tie, to tie. To tie. To tie up, verbo compuesto aquí. Phrasal verb. To tie up is atar alguien. Yeah, to tie somebody up. If Marta doesn't want me to leave, and I want to leave, well, she has a rope, cuerdas, and she can tie me up. Yes, to tie me up, to tie my hands, everything. And to gag me, yeah, to tie me up. To tie, I'm tied up. This afternoon I'm tied up. So estás atado o esta tarde. I'm tied up means estoy ocupado esta tarde. Tied up. Tied up. Tied up. No, I'm tied up this afternoon. I'm sorry, I can't see you this afternoon. Tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. I'm free tomorrow, but this afternoon I'm tied up. It means I'm busy. My agenda is full. My agenda is full. So I can't. To tie. And finally, to tie loose ends. Atar cabos sueltos. To tie loose. L-O-O-S-E. Loose. No suena a lose, que es perder. Escrito lose. Lose. Susana y Zaragoza, ahí vive Susana. Lose es perder. Ahora, loose, una S dura. Loose, es suelto o flojo. Atar cabos flojos, cabos sueltos. To tie loose ends. To tie loose ends. All right. You see this book? I think today we're going to finish this book. So look at it carefully, because maybe you'll never see it again if you haven't bought it. So look at it. That's me. Those buildings are the same ones behind me, yeah? All right. And this is a fantastic book for listening comprehension. All right. We've been using this book for a long time. But there are 3 paragraphs left. 3 paragraphs left. And I want to maybe finish them today. All right. If you don't have the book, I really recommend it for your listening comprehension. Paragraph 196. All right. Our neighbors upstairs keep the TV on so loud that the walls vibrate. Yeah. In fact, if we... Okay. Our neighbors upstairs keep the TV so loud that our walls vibrate. In fact, if we want to watch a show, we really don't have to turn up the volume, because we can hear the TV upstairs without any problem. Well, of course, that means if the people upstairs are watching the same show, the same program, the same channel, yes. But you see, when I wrote this paragraph here in Spain in the 1980s, there were only 2 channels. There were only 2 channels. The first channel and the second channel of Televisión Española, la 1 y la 2. That was it. I can't remember, Antena 3, and others came later, in the early 90s, I believe. So the likelihood that the person upstairs was watching the same show as me was very high. The likelihood means the probability. The likelihood that the person upstairs was watching the same show as me was very high. So our neighbors, vecinos, our neighbors upstairs keep the TV so loud that our walls vibrate. Brrr, the walls vibrate. Can you believe it? It's a bit exaggerated. In fact, if we want to watch a show, we really don't have to turn up the volume, because we can hear the TV upstairs without any problem. Yeah. So you can turn down the volume to nothing, to 0, and watch TV, listening to it from upstairs. It's interesting about volume. When you turn off the volume on a television and you watch the program, it's intriguing to try to figure out what's happening, you see. Some people watch football games, and they turn the TV, they turn the volume down to 0 and turn on the radio. And the radio, and you realize that the radio announcer is creating much more drama, more dramatic effects than you see on the screen. Of course, the taxi drivers, for example, who are listening it needs to be exciting. So I agree with the radio personalities who are exaggerating the action on the field. All right, but in any case, our neighbors upstairs, our neighbors downstairs, no. The ones upstairs, not the ones downstairs, the ones upstairs, los de arriba, no los de abajo. Upstairs means en la siguiente planta. If I live on the 5th floor, the neighbors upstairs are on the 6th floor, and the neighbors downstairs are on the 4th floor. Our neighbors upstairs keep the TV, lo mantienen tan alto. They keep the TV so loud, they keep the television, they keep the TV so loud that our walls vibrate. In fact, if we want to watch a show, we really don't have to turn up the volume, because we can hear the TV upstairs without any problem. All right, so we can hear the TV upstairs without any problem. Loud. All right, if it's too loud, turn it down. If it's too soft, turn it up. Or if it's not loud enough. Lo contrario de loud no existe. Loud. Loud is alto de ruido. Loud. Hey, Richard, you don't... Hello and welcome again to a new... Richard, you don't need to speak so loud. Yeah. Lower the volume, okay? You don't need to speak so loud. The opposite of loud is not loud. Really, we don't say soft. una voz suave. A soft voice, se puede decir, pero eso es no de decibelios. Menos decibelios. Fewer decibels is just not as loud. Not as loud. All right. Yes, upstairs, downstairs. All right. Paragraph number 197. If I had won as much money as he did, if I had won as much money as he did, hay una rata aquí. There's an I do. No, there's no mistake. Excuse me. I misread. He leído. I misread the sentence. If I had won as much money as he did, the first thing I'd do would be to move into a bigger house. Yeah. I'd pay for the house in cash and then put the rest of the money in the bank at the best interest rate possible. The last thing I'd do would be to start a company. It creates too many problems. Okay. Yes. Seguro que escribí estaba en mal humor cuando escribí este párrafo. Lo último que haría yo es crear una empresa, crear demasiados problemas. Okay. I was probably having too many problems. All right. If I'd won as much money as he did, apparently there's a man who won a lot of money. In the Christmas lottery or in the football sweepstakes or pool or in the casino, he won a lot of money. To win a lot of money es cuando te toca el dinero, no cuando lo ganas trabajando. That's to earn. He says, if I had won, si yo hubiera ganado, if I had won as much money as he did, the first thing I would do, would be, lo primero que haría sería, the first thing I would do would be, igual en inglés, pero hacemos la contracción. The first thing I'd do would be, the first thing I would do would be to move into a bigger house. Yeah, to move into a bigger house. To move into a bigger house, o sea, una casa más grande. Mudarme, trasladarme a una casa más grande. Pero digo aquí to move into a bigger house. Isn't it correct, Richard, say to move to a bigger house? Yeah. Sí, mudarme a una casa más grande. Yeah, the first thing I would do would be to move to a bigger house. Pero decimos mucho to move into a bigger house. Why? Jugamos con preposiciones en inglés. Entrar en una nueva casa mediante mudanza o traslado. All right. To move to, también mudarnos a una casa más grande. Ahora, mudarnos into, to move into, entrando en dicha casa. To move into. The first thing, if I had won as much money as he did, the first thing I'd do would be to move into a bigger house. Yeah, to move into a bigger house. I'd pay. Todo esto es hipotético, porque yo no tengo el mismo dinero que él. Pero si lo tuviera, ¿eh? I'd pay. O sea, todo es condicional. Pagaría. De ser así. I'd pay for the house. I'd pay for the house in cash. Metálico. In cash. In cold cash. No mortgage. No financing. Nothing. Mortgage is hipoteca. No mortgage, no financing, nothing. I'd pay. If I had won as much money as he did, bueno, habrá ganado mucho, eh? He must have won a lot of money, because enough money to buy a house in cash, and then to have extra money left over, sobrante, left over, to have money left over. If I had won as much money as he did, the first thing I'd do is to move into a bigger house. I'd pay for the house in cash, and then put the rest of the money in the bank at the best interest rate possible. The last thing I'd do would be to start a company. It creates too many problems. Okay. I don't necessarily agree. Well, no. It depends on the person. If the type of person would probably fail if he started a company, then I agree with this. He said, pagaría la casa en efectivo, o sea, en metálico. I would pay for the house. Pagamos por cosas y servicios. I pay. If you buy the books, you pay for the books in euros. You don't pay for the books in dollars. All right. You pay, la única vez que for no va con to pay is cuando es la cuenta o la factura. You pay the bill. And the bill is for, I bought the pencils. And they gave me a ticket, a bill. 10 euros, 10 euros. I'm going to pay the bill. Voy a pagar la cuenta. Pero voy a pagar por lo que compro. No, yo no compro una cuenta. O una factura. Yo compro los lápices. I buy the pencils. I don't buy the bill. But I pay the bill in order to pay for the pencils. So, to pay for the house. If I had won as much money as he did, the first thing I'd do would be to move into a bigger house. I'd pay for the house in cash and then put the rest of the money in the bank at the best interest rate possible. Al mejor tipo de interés posible. At the best interest rate possible. Yes. At the best interest rate. Rate, escrito rate. Interest, intereses. Interest rate, interest rate, interest rate, interest rate. To raise the interest rates, to lower the interest rates. Los bancos centrales suben y bajan los tipos de interés. El tipo preferencial. Yes, the interest rates, the interest rate. At the best interest rate possible. I'd pay for the house in cash and then put the rest of the money in the bank at the best interest rate possible. The last thing I'd do would be to start a company. Se usa mucho el verbo to start para formar, crear, establecer una compañía, una empresa. All right. Por eso la palabra startup. Los startups se dice mucho en España ahora. Startup, because you start a company. Richard, have you ever started a company? Well, yes, I've started a company. This one. This company. Yeah. To start a company. And I don't need to start more. All right. The last thing I'd do, the last thing I would do would be, otra vez, lo último que haría sería. The last thing I'd do would be to start a company. It creates too many problems. Crea demasiados problemas. Causa, provoca, genera. It generates, it causes too many problems. It creates too many problems. All right. Yeah, how much time do we have, Marta? We have quite a bit of time. Okay. So, the important thing here is, this is in the conditional. And it begins in the past conditional. Si yo hubiera ganado. O sea, de haber ganado. If I had won. Eso es curioso. Si yo hubiera ganado tanto dinero como él, de haber ganado yo tanto dinero como él, two different ways in Spanish, and two different ways in English too, exactly the same. If I had won as much money as he did, ahora, de haber ganado, had I won, curiosa estructura, had I won as much money as he did, los dos se dicen, pero se dicen, yo recomiendo lo primero, if I had. Es la forma estándar, digamos. If I had won as much money as he did, the first thing I'd do would be to move into a bigger house. I would pay for the house in cash, no mortgage, and I would put the rest of the money in the bank at the best interest rate possible. Very difficult now. The last thing I would do would be to start a company. El hecho de hacerlo, it creates too many problems. All right. This is the last paragraph, Marta. Los voy a echar de menos. I'm going to miss these paragraphs. But I have the micro paragraphs here. These micro paragraphs. All right. So, there's no reason to be sad. I'm being sad and blue. Paragraph number 198. All right? Are you ready? This is a silly paragraph. No me gusta terminar con una cosa tan tonta. You know? Tendría que ser profundo. But it's not. All right. The main difference between Europeans and Americans. Wow. Wow. Esto es filosófico. La diferencia más grande entre europeos y americanos, ¿saben? The main difference between Europeans and Americans is that Europeans get dressed before having breakfast, and the Americans usually get dressed after having breakfast. Oh, that's the main difference? Yes. When I lived in the States, I always had breakfast in my pajamas. Since I came to Europe, I've always had breakfast with a tie on. This is true, by the way. This is true. 60-70% true. Okay. The correlation is 70%. People in Spain don't appreciate breakfast. Usually, there are exceptions, of course. And they get up, and usually they get up at the last moment, you know. They get dressed and woo, and they're still asleep. And when they get to the office, they go to the coffee machine or to the coffee. They make a coffee, you know, in the office. Or they go to a bar outside or to a cafeteria and they have coffee there. And so they get up. Maybe they take a shower. I hope they take a shower. They get dressed, feeling sleepy. And they put on the tie and think, everything's right, everything's okay. They brush their teeth, and then they leave the house. And then some people go to a bar or to a restaurant to have a coffee, maybe churros, maybe a pincho or something, omelet or something. And then they go to work. They drive to work, or they catch the bus or the underground, etc. Public transport. Some people get up, sleepy, they take a shower, get dressed, comb their hair, everything's right. Women put on their makeup and things. And they put on their shoes and they leave home. They drive to work or they catch the bus, they go to the metro. When near the office, they stop in a bar across the street from the office and they have a coffee. And then some go into the office and have the first coffee or the tea or whatever in the office. All right. Normally in my country, in the United States, people get up and the first thing they do is coffee. Coffee. And normally, breakfast. It could be pancakes. It could be waffles, que son gofres, you know, with butter y jarabe, sirope de arce. Different. No chocolate como aquí. And it's delicious. Or they have bacon, buena proteína para pedir, and eggs to start. Eso that gives energy. 2 fried eggs and bacon and toast with butter and jam. Jam is mermelada. Butter and jam or something. And they have a nice meal. Yeah. And then they take a shower and get dressed and go to work. Okay. That's how my father did it. And that's how I do it. Although I don't eat, I usually have just a tall coffee, American style, tall coffee for 30 minutes, you know, checking the news in the United States and in Spain, etc., and checking the sports as well in the United States. So, I never have breakfast dressed. Never. Or hardly ever in my life. So, the main difference, so this is a silly paragraph, but it's true more or less. The main difference between Europeans and Americans Europeans and Americans. Fíjate en la pronunciación de European. 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 A European problem. Un problema europeo. Fíjate, he dicho a. Porque la EU de Europa o europeo suena como una Y inglesa que es consonante. Como tú eres. European. A European problem. So, the main difference between Europeans and Americans is that Europeans get dressed, se visten, before having breakfast, gerundio después de preposición before having breakfast, and the Americans usually get dressed after having breakfast. When I lived in the States, I always had breakfast in my pajamas. Since I came to Europe, desde que vine a España, since I came to Europe, I always have breakfast with a tie on, which is not true. See you tomorrow.